Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Arrogant. In this video I'd like to show you a quick guide on how to Warlock heal as a new player. In this video I'll basically essentially go over kind of what the powers and feats you want to be using and then kind of how to actually use them in combat, and I'll run through essentially a random dungeon with you guys and show you kind of my playstyle and how I tend to play it. So let's get started. First up, if we look at our power section, we have all of our powers here, including our features and our feats down here at the bottom. Now there are two different ways to play a Warlock, and it's kind of all dependent on these last two feats here. You either choose your Fey Pact or you choose Hell Pact. Fey Pact essentially will give your heal powers a heal over time effect, and your Hell Pact will essentially give your heal powers a miniature shield with that heal. In my opinion, the Fey Pact is far more superior, especially when you're healing through content solo. However, if you're in a trial scenario where you have like a paladin healer with you who will be giving all those little shields, then you may as well have the Fey Pact. But if you're running with a cleric in a trial, then you may as well be running with the Hell Pact, as then you'll be the only one there giving those small little shields. Ideally you could have two different loadouts. However, coming from a free-to-play point of view, you'll only be given two free loadouts. So generally you kind of want to reserve one for DPS and one for healer. So my personal preference is just Fey Pact. Along with this, I'm running with all these feats here. The first one essentially giving me Soul Weave regeneration, and it ticks up, as you can see here on my buff bar, up to a total of 4. Essentially these stack up when you're not using any Soul Weave. For example, if I use a power here which uses Soul Weave, you can see all of those stacks go away and then they begin to stack up again as I'm not using any. The second one essentially grants my at-will power, Soul Reconstruction, the big heal at-will that we will generally be using. The effect that it will increase the focus of your essentially your little bot. See that little green guy there? That green guy actually will look purple if you choose the Hell Pact feat. He'll be green if you choose Fey Pact. Anyway, back to Focused Spark. Essentially you'll grant the magnitude from this dude, which will be much higher. The In Spirit, I believe it's right here. Magnitude is currently 120, and this will increase it to 220, but only on the target with which you use your Soul Reconstruction on, essentially for that duration. The next one up here is Soul Theft. Essentially whenever you get hit and stuff, you'll regenerate this Soul Weave. This Soul Weave is like our pool, our mana pool, which we use to cast most of our heal powers like Soul Storm, our Vampiric Embrace, and also our Revitalize. These are kind of all of our big heal powers. And then we have our Bright Spark there. Essentially whenever you cast a daily power, one of these two, you'll have to build up a load of action points to actually cast them. Essentially you'll buff that little bot and you'll have it heal a whole lot more. It's pretty nice. The alternative feats, you can have a look at them yourselves, and I went and tested them out myself, and I kind of find these ones are kind of more beneficial for my playstyle. Generally, like if you look at this one, when your Soul Weave is below a certain amount, then you'll essentially your little bot will channel you and it will increase your Soul Weave regeneration. Like I don't really find it that useful, because generally you want to always be above that threshold of 30%, just for those safe areas. Sometimes you go have to spam, I understand, and you might drop below that 30%, but generally the better you are at healing, the less likely you get, and then the less benefit you get from it. So my personal preference is just this one up here. Then for like my class features, I generally like to run with this one, just for like my extra move speed, keep up with the party, and just be able to keep up and heal them. And then the next one, just being soulbound. Essentially when somebody drops below 50%, they receive a nice little heal of 300 magnitude. It's actually pretty decent. Like there are a few other alright ones here, like Bard Spirit is good when you're running a trial where you have two healers in your group essentially. Like Swift Command, it's alright, but generally when we're using this channel thingy, you're going to be standing still anyway. Like generally you only really use it in a boss fight. Otherwise you generally can just use this at will. You can see they actually look pretty identical. Let's move on to like our the dailies I generally like to use. I generally like to use this soul barrier, this nice big one here. Essentially you'll create like a massive bubble around you. You'll see in the content that I'll show later on when I run like a random queue, you'll see me use it once or twice. Then there is alternatively this soul pact one. Essentially what will happen with soul pact is you'll hurt yourself and you'll heal your allies over time, up to a magnitude of 500 heal over that 10 seconds. You'll also buff their damage resistance. It's pretty decent. However, I sometimes just like to use Brood of Hadar instead, essentially giving a burst heal when you need it, and also essentially just doing a bit of damage to help out. Then of course let's go to our encounter powers. I generally like to use this Soul Storm, this one here. You can see when I cast it on the ground. Can't really see it here. I'm going to move over to this area. Here you see it. See, it makes this big circle. You make this like Soul Storm, and you'll just heal people over time within it. On top of that, you could pop down what I like to do, the Pillar of Power. It essentially gives these passive buffs. If you look at the Pillar of Power here, you essentially increase the damage they deal, increase the outgoing healing of yourself and party members, and also reduce the damage they take. It's pretty decent, pretty neat. And then there is like Wraith's Shadow, where essentially you'll decrease the target damage dealt. These is good for bosses. Otherwise you can switch out to like Warlock's Bargain. However, it will consume your little bot, which is kind of a bit sad, but it definitely helps you out by giving you a big chunk of soul weave. Anyway, as for gear and such, generally you just want to go with the highest item level stuff you can get. Currently, I've managed to scrape up 20,000 item level there by using this gear here, most of it coming from the newer zones. You can see I'm still rocking this Undermountain sash since I haven't really got anything better. There is the option to run the Tiamat set. I believe I can run it now, still being at 20,000 item level. The reason why I want to be at 20,000 item level is because these random queues, like the random epic trial queue, you actually only need 16,000, but the epic dungeon queue, that's what I want to get in, and I need that 20,000 item level. So you're just rocking all the highest, essentially, item level gear you can find. However, what you do want to work on is getting this power up and also this crit strike up. So what I have here is like a ring which gives me crit. I have another ring here which gives me defense, just so that I don't get too smashed when I'm running into like mobs and stuff that actually hit me. And then you can see my power, it hasn't even hit 100k yet. However, you'll see I do actually fairly well at healing still with this. So that's just kind of gear. You just want to get stuff that has crit and power. You can see enchantments here. I'm just rocking all these radiants, like rank 8s and a few rank 9s here and there. For companions, you just want the highest rune stones on your companion. You ideally want an augment companion, like the one I have here. It's a Black Dragon Ion Stone. However, it's definitely not the best in slot. You might want to look at somebody else's build who actually main a Warlock. I'm relatively new to Warlock healing, and I'm just kind of running a new player point of view build, and this is kind of what I set up myself up with. These are like really cheap options, some rank 9 bonding stones, some really cheap companion gear here, just some purples, trying to get that that actually crit on them. Some of them got defense, which is decent. One of them just got deflect, not needed at all, and this one's got crit avoidance because I don't actually have anything here. I could technically switch out to other things, but I'll show you it's actually doable with this. As for like these passive slots here, you ideally want the outgoing healing like this Sellsword has. I have the Gith, which gives power. Actually, I have the Neverwinter Guard, which gives the outgoing healing as well. And then that's it. I have the Black Dragon, which just gives me crit, and I have like this Sylph giving me awareness. You can see I don't have any other defense companions. I do have a few other offense ones here. I could use the Shaman, but like as you look here on my Managed companions, none of them are legendary. They're just on purple. So, and these are the ones I literally just got from like either free stuff or from free reclaim packs after buying them, like over here. Anyway, then for mounts, what I'm using for insignias, I'm actually just using all green ones which I've picked up along the way, and that's it really. I did try to get these gladiators gal for the extra movement speed because they're handy. As for like boons, you can see I literally only have one. Yeah, I haven't done any of the campaigns. The most I've done on the campaign is Undermountain, these 3 tasks. Yep, I'm lazy. And of course I am in a guild, so that definitely helps. I have my movement speed, I have my power here, and I have some extra HP from here. So otherwise that's pretty much my setup and my build. I'm using the Sigil of the Paladin as my primary artifact. You can see I can actually upgrade it here. We may as well do so. Hopefully we don't have to spend a ward on that. Yep, looks like we didn't. These components are actually pretty dirt cheap, so I'm happy enough to spend that. I don't think I'm going to upgrade it to purple since you need these more expensive ones. It isn't really necessary. Like, generally your own heals are much better than this. The only reason why you use this is because you can see there now, being it on blue, it's 9% increased damage resistance. Of course, if you're just starting out as a new player, you won't actually have this unless you have leveled up a paladin to level 60 and completed the, I believe it's the Vault of the Nine quest, where essentially you gain your class sigil. Anyway, so let's go ahead and queue up to a random epic dungeon queue and see what we get. Unfortunately, I had to split this video into 2 parts as it would be way too long, and yeah, most of you just wouldn't watch the whole length and you'd never end up seeing the part where I actually run the dungeon. So I decided to split it into 2 videos. So this is going to be the end of this video. Essentially it's just my new player build for my Warlock healing. And that's it. Hopefully it can be helpful for you new players. By no means whatsoever aim for what I have. Just go off the guidelines of gear. You just want high item level, power and crit. Companions, you want outgoing healing and power. And mounts, you just want power insignias essentially. And that's it pretty much. Just get all those feats right and use the right powers and you'll be perfectly fine. As soon as I have the part 2 out, the link should be in the description below. And hopefully you enjoy that just as much as this. And we'll see you then. Goodbye.